This election will be the most rigged election in history. Mail-in ballots are very dangerous. There's tremendous fraud involved and tremendous illegality. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen.
Long before the first ballot was cast, Donald Trump insisted the election was rigged against him.
Will you commit here today for a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens.
Not even a clear election loss, multiple recounts and failed legal challenges were enough to puncture this alternative reality. It only seemed to embolden his true believers.
No, I don't think it was a surprise at all. If you were just following the news and around the country, you could understand that something was going to happen, and it was probably going to be a very bad reaction and consequence of the president's inciting these people to come protest and riot and raise hell, and they did, and much worse.
Never has the Capitol been so defiled in 212 years. Our president, not content with having 350,000 lives on his hands through the COVID pandemic, now has added more people to his list.
Donald Trump's influence over his supporters is plain to see, so are the consequences. Richard Armitage, a Republican who served as Deputy Secretary of State in the George W. Bush administration, fears more violence will follow.
If you don't think that this in some way is encouraging the next McVeigh, he was the man who was responsible for the Oklahoma bombing, since put to death. I think you'd be wrong. I'm not saying it will bring forth in McVeigh, but it's encouraging those that have those kind of thoughts, I believe.
The real split today in the US isn't between Republicans and Democrats. It's between those people who still think that electoral politics of a democratic type can have a role in fixing the nation's problems, and people who have basically given up on democracy altogether and are now thinking of potential armed solutions to those problems.
Counterinsurgency expert David Kilcullen has been tracking the rise in America's armed militias and says the country is at a tipping point.
It's not too extreme to suggest that the US is in a pre-revolutionary or pre-insurgency state. I think that what happens in the next few weeks to months will determine where that goes, but we certainly are right now at risk of a revolutionary moment that could potentially lead to mass unrest and violence.
Although America's Department of Homeland Security says white supremacists are now the most persistent and lethal threat to the country, Donald Trump is often reluctant to condemn right-wing violence.
It started in Charlottesville when he said there were good people on both sides of the issue. And from my point of view, a racist by definition is not a good person. And there was violence at those rallies, and it's continued. And so all those things lead me to believe that he's a domestic terrorist.
In January last year, heavily armed protesters surrounded Virginia's state capitol building to protest gun laws. In April, armed extremists stormed Michigan's Capitol building to protest stay-at-home orders. Trump called them very good people. In August, Trump defended a 17-year-old supporter who shot dead 2 people and injured a 3rd during protests over a police shooting.
That was an interesting situation. You saw the same tape as I saw, and he was trying to get away from them, I guess, it looks like, and he fell, and then they very violently attacked him.
We've seen this time and again the last 4 years, and he leads it. He incites it through his tweets, and he will not condemn it. He's never condemned it. Oh, no, I put 100% of the blame on President Trump.
Even in the dying days of his presidency, Donald Trump has enormous powers. Chuck Hagel, Defense Secretary in the Obama administration, fears how he might use them.
What if he decides to take an action against Iran or North Korea, or attack an Iranian ship or a North Korean ship? These are things that are extreme, I recognize, but I don't think that you can underplay it or underestimate it, especially this president, in what we've seen of him and what he's capable of doing.
There are calls for the president to leave the White House or to be forced to leave. The Democrats are pushing for impeachment.
What I think most people would like to see done is for the president to quietly resign and quietly leave. I have no doubt that there will continue to be a push for a second impeachment, and the time is short. It would complicate matters, obviously, but the issue is what he's done to this country, and he's broken the law. And any constitutional lawyer or scholar that you talk to will tell you that, and he needs to pay a price for that.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.